Greetings, my friends, my sisters and brothers in the Archdiocese. I once again appreciate the opportunity to be able to spend a few minutes with you as we continue this journey of life and this great Easter season. I have the privilege to welcoming you today to Blessed John Paul II High School in Slidell. I have just completed a Mass with the school community, and obviously their school is named after John Paul II, who is now Blessed John Paul II. On his way to being a recognized, canonized saint of our church. And so it is a very historical moment for the world, for us as Catholics, that a Pope who has so recently died and been a part of the lives of many of us is now on the way to sainthood, but also a very important day here for the students. I reflected with them on the life of John Paul II. And as we know, in many ways, his life was very ordinary, like ours. He was born in a different country, obviously in Poland, born of parents. By the time his young sister died, he then experienced the death of his brother later. His mother died at 8. He buried his father when he was a young adult. John Paul II, as we know, grew up in a time of war, and he knew what it was like to live through war and economic problems and a lack of justice and a lack of social justice. He also, as we know, had his own ordinariness. He loved sports, he loved the theater. He, like all of us, had his own weaknesses, his sins, times of failure. And yet, in the midst of all of that ordinariness, he heard an extraordinary call from God saying, "Come follow me. I need you to serve and to lead my people." And he said yes to priesthood, which led him into becoming a bishop, a cardinal, and as we know, the beloved and the blessed John Paul II. It's a great historical moment in our church. And let us remember that this man who is in heaven with God and this saint visited the Archdiocese of New Orleans. And just a few moments ago, when I celebrated Mass with the students and the faculty here, I showed them the chalice that he left us as a gift during his papal visit in the 1980s. And as I said to the students, this chalice today was filled not with the blood of John Paul II, but more importantly, the blood of Christ. And it is that blood of Christ that John Paul draws us to by his prayers and by his good example. I would like to challenge myself, you, and as I did the students here at John Paul II High School, how can we be like John Paul? What are the two qualities that I have picked out today that I think are very significant? The first is that of his relying on God. He was a man who knew the Lord, and he knew he needed the Lord, and he stayed close to the Lord. And John Paul II, like you and I, had times of joy, and he had times of discouragement, he had times of failure, he had times when he was misunderstood, times of sin. And yet in all of that, he stayed close to the Lord because he knew that God never gave up on him and that he should never give up on God. And I think that's an important lesson for us. Also, secondly, he was a man of courage. He had guts. He had boldness. Boldness enough that the very person who tried to take his life in St. Peter's Square, and when he was put in jail, when John Paul II got out of the hospital, he said, "I want to visit him." We'll never know what took place in that conversation, but I think we can be assured of one thing, very, very certainly. John Paul II forgave him. He offered him mercy and compassion. He was also a man who was prophetic. He was always able to speak the truth. In John Paul's life, people didn't have to go to the Vatican to see the Pope. He went to them. In John Paul's life, he went from country to country, visited the world, and was not afraid. No, maybe he was afraid, but he did it anyway. He addressed the issues of the day. He talked about racism. He talked about violence. He talked about social justice issues, war and the rumors of war, about family life and the challenges of family life, the challenges of growing up as adolescents today. And he addressed those very straightforward and head on. And he was misunderstood. Times he was misjudged, and yet he had the courage to continue to speak. I think we need to be like him in being able to speak the truth and to speak it boldly and compassionately, not just boldly, but compassionately. Today, you and I honor a saint of our time. This saint, John Paul II, Blessed John Paul II, visited our archdiocese. His spirit is here, his prayers are here. How can we imitate him, stay close to the Lord, and you and I should be bold in living our Catholic Christian faith. May Blessed John Paul II pray for us and pray for all of us in the Archdiocese of New Orleans, especially as we face this new battle that is involving violence and murder and racism. God's peace. And John Paul's prayers.